the National Centre for Decarbonisation of Heat. Martin, over to you.
Graham, thank you very much indeed. So I'm going to talk about the National Centre for Decarbonisation of Heat and how that links into the skills agenda. Take a bit of a run up to this and talk you through a policy commission that we ran a few years ago now, which was with Sir John Armitt. And Sir John is, if you don't know, he's chair of the National Infrastructure Commission. And heat is a crucial part of the UK's infrastructure. So in terms of context, and you, I am sure, know this almost off by heart now, but heat in terms of the net zero transition is a really important component. As you can see, 37% of our emissions are associated with heat, and 17% of that is the built environment. And big reason for that is how we generate our heat. And the UK, you can see, sits almost at the bottom of the pile in terms of the use of gas, so high carbon intensity fuel source. We need to find our way more towards that top of that pile. So this is a list of OECD countries. We've done a lot historically around housing retrofit, and here one sees a series of interventions which have taken place over a number of years. So the different vertical bands there are by year. And more or less things have ground to a halt, and we need to re-energize the sector. And if one looks at the delivery out of solutions in terms of heat pumps, and what's charted here on the right-hand side is number of heat pumps per 1,000 households across the EU. You see that there are countries who are doing extraordinarily well. Those countries, again, are in Scandinavia typically, and the UK sits at the bottom of this stack here. And so interventions are required which move us on. And from a national perspective, we have the government's heat and building strategy, which sets out a direction of travel. What I've taken here is, or done here, is taken all of the interventions which are set out in that heat and building strategy and laid them out as a function of time and color-coded them. And you can see in red, there is this ratcheting up of the EPC. In blue, you can see various interventions which are anticipated around hydrogen, so moving from a hydrogen neighborhood to village, and strategic commitments around the scale of hydrogen production. Whether we are still on that course is a matter for debate, but you can see a series of plans which the government has. But to deliver those plans are extraordinarily difficult, and the reason for that is that you have a whole series of moving parts here. So there's decisions to be made around what kind of heat technology you use. So are we going to be using heat pumps? Is it going to be hydrogen? And the answer probably not at the moment. Is it going to be district heating? Well, in certain parts of cities, almost certainly. And if you're in a rural setting, what is the role of biomass, etc. And once you've made those decisions, then you need the infrastructure to underpin it. And then you need to aggregate those infrastructure decisions that are being made locally into the national plans. And all of that requires that local understanding and local area energy planning. Big challenge has been the access to funding and finance. Consumer engagement is also a big problem, and in part why the UK lags so far behind those other European countries. there's the need to make sure that we anchor this part of the net zero transition into the UK supply chain. And then, well, we need the skills base to deliver, and that's part of this session. But one of the as we were doing this piece of work associated with the Policy Commission, one of the challenges is not the able to pay market. It is actually social housing and those who exist in fuel poverty. And we looked at the challenge through the lens of part of Birmingham, East Birmingham, which, as you can see from the statistics here, has one of the most challenging environments to deliver out retrofit. So this area has very high levels of fuel poverty, very high levels of unemployment, and in fact, very low awareness of net zero and the challenges that presents. And as one goes through the barriers which lie in the way of delivering housing retrofit, one sees the fact that if you were to examine this part of the city, you see this pepper pot of housing types, mixed ownership, so people who own their own homes integrated in with social housing, very, very high costs, lack of coordination. So who is responsible for delivery of all of this? Where are the plans? So do we have a coordinated plan for delivery? And the ownership of those plans, no deadlines or responsibilities, questions over technology, and nobody wants to be the first to make a technology decision which turns out to be wrong, and a sector which is way too hard because of all of those moving parts to navigate. And because of that, the bottom line is that this is just a very high-risk sector for those who are choosing to navigate it. The Policy Commission came out with a whole bunch of recommendations. These were the top 10. There were all sorts of suggestions, including reform of EPCs, which don't properly reflect energy efficiency. But the bottom line is, or bottom two lines here, is that we need to do things at a scale which is attractive to the market, gets the market going. And so 3 national Pathfinder projects were suggested, and a coordination body, which is the National Centre for Decarbonisation of Heat. And using that, using that coordination and those pathfinders, you can learn about how to integrate all of the parts of the solution, from the finance to that community engagement, and in the case of district heating, how you integrate in waste heat sources. And so in East Birmingham, we have some very significant waste heat sources which will be part of the district heating scheme. We're very lucky now to have that National Centre funded. It has been funded through the Levelling Up Fund, through Department of Levelling Up, Housing and Communities. It is going to be based at this place here. It ties the Energy Park in East Birmingham. So the Energy Park is based in an industrial area with many of those communities around the park. We have some energy sources here, such as a biomass plant. We've produced our own green hydrogen. We're next to the city's energy from waste plants. We've got lots of energy sources, lots of waste heat, and there's an opportunity to integrate that into delivery around housing retrofit. So the NCDH itself will be starting construction towards the end of this year, early next year, as a go live in 2026. And its facilities include a whole variety of things, but training facilities and accreditation facilities are part of it. We are working with the local college, Southern City College, Birmingham, to develop out that skills pathway. We have a 3-year apprenticeship program already around district heating first cohort is in 2024. And we have, alongside that, a variety of programs, but we are just bidding for a Green Economy Centre for Net Zero Housing Retrofit, which will be a £5 million program to support all of the activity around housing retrofit. So, Graham, I will stop there, but hopefully that is useful context on the National Centre.
Yeah, excellent, Martin. Thanks so much for that quick run through and overview of the timeline there, which I'm sure people will be very interested in, and I expect reaching out to you to get involved in that as well. So we'll come back to that a bit later in the live panel session. But thanks again, Martin, for